Here's what we're going to talk about today. I guess the most tactful way for me to put this is I'm going to sell you on a completely different way of working with Drupal. And the reason I'm saying that way is we all learn Drupal the same way. Everyone goes through the same learning curve. It's just how it's done. We learn content types, we learn taxonomy, we learn fields. We struggle with views for about a year, and then we start building sites once we have those things. The problem is, because we all go up the learning curve the same identical way, we all build the same identical architecture sites. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the right way to do it. It's just the way to do it. So, part of what I'm going to do tonight is sell you on a completely different way of handling everything inside Drupal. So, hopefully I'm a good seller. So, as you can see, there is no code. You know why? Because I don't know code. I'm not a code guy. So I'm more of a UI type guy, a user experience type person. So you will not have to do anything with code at all, promise. No custom entities, so we're not going to have to worry about anything on the storage model side. No ECK, nothing like that. User thought UIs, that's a big term, but I'm going to use it a few times. User thought driven UIs. And that's really what this is about, is creating interfaces that think and work in the same way a human being is told to do something. Hey, here's an example. When you log into a Drupal site, how many people actually take the time and trouble to set up rules to log in into a specific page? Show me. Anybody?
What?
Okay. There's one. We got one. We got one.
I'm in the process of doing that.
Possibly awesome.
Okay. So when they log into the site, they log into the user account page. Am I right? Okay, well, if they're a content editor, you really think they care about seeing their own profile? That's the flavor of what I'm trying to get across is we need to start making Drupal work and think the way that people work and think. Here's another example. Let's say I'm a content editor, and my boss says, hey, Jay, go to the red bicycle and change its price and put 3 new options on it and make it featured. Well, think about the way I just said that. Go to the red bicycle. Problem is, think about the other part of that. Change its price, make it featured. We automatically, as Drupal people, say, okay, I got to go to this node, update that, this node, update. We're not working the way we think. And that, I think, is a big problem, too. So, hopefully, I'm going to sell you on a different way of that with that. The last two, tiny site footprint. Those of you that do know me, I don't like modules. I hate them because they're the root of all blow-ups on a site. I guarantee you, if you get module happy, 2 are not going to play nicely, your site's going to white screen, and now all of a sudden you've got all kinds of heartache on your hands trying to figure out which one to get in. And there's only one way to fix it. Shut them all off, start turning them on until it blows up again. That's what you need to have that one. That's not cool. We don't want to do that. So if we keep the site footprint tiny, always can stay as close to the core as we possibly can, your site's going to run great. And that's also, I'm going to show you inside here. Super expandable. That's a big one. With this particular architecture, if a client says to me, hey, I need to add on 7 new content types, all I need to do is add 7 fields. That's it. I'm done. I don't have to touch anything on that's already on the site. I don't have to re-architect anything. I don't have to redo views. I don't have to do anything. I add 7 fields and I'm done. So that's another part of the selling process I'm going to take you guys through. Well, I think I know everybody pretty much. Yeah. As you see, I'm Jay. I'm a senior developer with TrackTech Partners, which is based up in Boston. I do all of their data modeling procedures, architecture, all of the back-end side of Drupal. Been with them about 1.5 years. I'm the co-organizer of the Broward Drupal Users Group in Fort Lauderdale, and we just had our 4th birthday. 4 years. I've missed 2 meetups. I missed 2 meetups in all that time, and Hector, the other co-organizer, has never missed 1 meetup. That guy's a machine. He's never sick. He's never tired.
He's got a wind-up key.
You can't stop that guy. Like you said, put King's back, wind him up, and he's good. So we do have a pretty good turnout as far as people coming through online. So we share our screens with join.me and our audio through Skype. So if you want to come in, it's the 2nd Wednesday of every month at 7 o'clock. And if you want to join in, we'd love to have you. I can, types, and we'll get going. Just recently, I was honored to be asked to become a mentor in the Drupal Career Start program, and I worked with Deborah and to a lesser degree Pat. There they are. Great job. I got a lot of years on the IT side. I was an IT director for over 14 years. I woke up one day and I said, you know what, I hate it, I'm done, can't do it. I found Drupal, and that's what I did. So that's what got me here. So what can you look forward to? Well, here's what you got. I'm going to show you what the toolbox is. What are the modules you need to make this happen? What's the architecture? And how is it built? And I promise you, it's tiny and it's easy. You just got to be willing to sit back and kind of think of a different way of looking at things. If you can do that, I think you're going to get this pretty solidly first shot. We're going to talk about the top-down hierarchy approach to data modeling. I'll give you an example. If you have 20 content types on the site, is there any kind of hierarchy on those content types? They're flat, one straight line right across. I think that's a problem. I'm going to show you why, and hopefully I'm going to sell you on why. UIs that are user thought process driven, like I mentioned before. If we can make our UIs and systems work the same way that the people that drive them work and think, all of a sudden, all those bad things about Drupal, I think they're going to go away. Because then these people can say, oh my God, it's so easy. I don't have to fumble through content. I don't have a problem finding my stuff. You know, they're going to love it. We can talk about visualizing content in relational terms. Who has database experience? Anybody?
Who knows what?
Database?
EPA.
Good. Who has no database experience? Even better. Because you don't need it. You just need to sit back and just let me sell you on this and think a different way. If you can do that, the database terminology just goes along for the ride. It's really easy. It's basically three words we're going to talk about. Last but not least, who uses taxonomy? Come on, don't be shy, tell me. Who uses it?
And I love it.
How about this? Who knows if it's going to be in Drupal 8?
It's not.
Deprecated. Gone. History. Abe Lincoln. No more.
I'm going to June.
Should we be happy about that?
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, yeah. And I'm going to prove to you why, too. I'm going to show you why taxonomy, I think it's bad. You guys will get it, trust me. And if you look at the little picture over on the right, you know, all of us, we live in that world. We do this stuff all day long. We just don't realize we're actually doing it. But the folder structure on any directory tree is exactly what we're going to do today. That's how we're going to build our content types. There's going to be a parent content type and children content type. And they're all going to sit on the same screen. So no more blind editing of data, no more putting 20 nodes in at the same title and forgetting that we did it. All those things are going to go away. Promise. Toolbox. What do you need to make this thing work? There it is, guys. It can't be smaller than that. You need Drupal core, entity, and the API. Entity reference, entity connect. There's the magic. There's the Cupid doll right there. Auto entity label, which is not a necessary one, but I use it on every single site. I'll show you why. And use. That's it. One more too. Don't need any other modules. I see people that are saying, there's no way that's possible. I saw the look on some face, really, no way. Trust me, I promise you, this is all you need. All right, now here's my time to bash through. Now I'm going to start selling you guys. I'm going to start the sales process. Let's compare two different things. The first one is we're going to kind of reiterate the way Drupal works now. Like we just spoke about, content types do not have any hierarchy. They sit on the same level line. Does everyone agree with that? Right? Cool. So we then go ahead and we're taught that we need to put taxonomy reference fields on this content type. So, but what does taxonomy do? Who's willing to give me a definition? What does taxonomy really do?
Indexes.
Okay, what else?
It's a free node reference, basically, but it's very constrained.
Good. Anybody else?
Relates to interest. Relates to.
That's what I'm looking for. Taxonomy lets you tie nodes together based on a word. That's it. That's all it ever did. That's all it ever will do. Right? Everyone agree with that? Good. So you can set up content type number one. You can put a taxonomy, you can put your reference field on there. You can put as many as you want. Great. Problem is, if you go in to enter a node on content type number one, can you see that related data? Anybody? No. Absolutely not. You can't see it. How about this? How about we have taxonomy and user number one puts in the term J, capital J-A-Y. Content person number two comes in and makes it small J-A-Y. Are those two valid terms? They certainly are. But they're unique. How about this? How about the fat-fingered content editor goes in, hits the space bar by accident, and types in space small J-A-Y. Maybe the opposite. Maybe they go small J-A-Y space. Now we got 5 terms, all say the same thing, 5 completely different terms. That's a problem. And it's bitten me many times. You know, that's, I'm sure it's bitten you guys at some point. So, we all agree that this taxonomy thing allows you to tie nodes together based on a word. So now, let's go to sales push number 2. What if I could show you a way where on node number 1, like we just talked about, let's say node number 1 has 18 different related content types. 18 different content types. They all have their own fields. Think about this now. If we built Drupal the way we normally built it, and I wanted to go in and enter 18 child records, what would I have to do? I'd have to go add content, find that relation, find the related piece of content, enter in my node, and go all the way through those 18 steps. But if I go back to node 1 and edit it, do I see any of those 18 child records? No. I see node 1. That's all I'm ever going to see. Wouldn't it be cool if we could see node 1 and all of those 18 content types and all of those records on one screen? Think about that for a second. Wouldn't that be cool? I think it would be. What do you guys think? Think there's some benefit there? Cool. That's what I'm going to sell you on. That's what we're going to do tonight. I'm going to show you how you're going to look at one master node, let's call it the parent or the mother of all content types, whatever you want to call it, and all of the children's content types and all of those records that reside on all of those related content types. Cool? Cool. So here's what I'm going to do. I actually built a cruise ship company website that runs on this data model. But you guys, we can actually do this together, kind of sort of. But the reason I'm giving this to you is because this is kind of off the wall. Not many people build cruise ship websites, so you don't really understand the terms and the things like that. Could I have come up with a simpler example? Absolutely, but that's no fun. We're developers. We like things like this. We need to think through a problem. That's what developers are. So here's our mission. We have to build a cruise website. It has to hold hundreds of trips. Okay? Deep relational data per trip. 10 content types deep minimum. Whoa, that's a lot. That's a lot. It's a big site. Now, if you think about the flat approach, like we just talked about, that could really be a bummer. If you're the guy charged with putting the content in and taking it, right? What happens if they expand it to 18 content types before launch? Now you got 8 more things you got to worry about, right? It can get really out of control very quick. You guys agree? Right? Okay. What happens if they say, you know what, let's launch with the 18 content types. By the way, I want to add land tours, excursions, I want to add trip extensions, and something else. Now we got 4 brand new ones. So from launch day number 1, we're guaranteed we got to bolt on 4 new content types. Most of you guys are probably sitting there saying, oh, Jesus Christ, I'm going to have to go back through all of those hundreds of nodes and reset my reference fields. Right? That's what I'd be thinking about. we use the flat approach. We don't have to do that. So, pain points. Over the 4 years I've been doing this, I've worked with enough, small sites, little one pages, all the way up to enterprise, all the way up to universities. Talking 25, 30,000 node launches. Good thing is that the people that complain about Drupal usually complain about the same identical things. Having to go to the content list to hunt for content. Having 9 nodes with the same identical title, but they don't know which one of those were. Node UIs, they can't seem to get things saved properly. It's not working. They all complain about the same basic things. Problem is, when enough of those people, the content editors, complain, and they go to their bosses, and the bosses have to hear it over and over and over about, hey, we just spent 150 grand on this site, and you're telling me you can't run it. That's where Drupal gets this bad mystique. So, we're going to fix that. Marathon data entry tasks. The site that we just sold with this data model, to enter in one trip, it took them an average of an hour and a half. Think about that. Hundreds of trips. We need to have a site that's going to, hundreds of trips, 200, 300, whatever it's going to be. But it takes this poor girl an hour and a half to put one in. That's a problem. It's a huge problem. So I don't care if the site sold for 150 grand or not, you're still basically saying, hey honey, spend the next hour and a half putting in one trip. By the way, here's 210 other ones you have to do also. That's not a good scene for anybody. So, downtime. How about this? How many of us do a launch, slap a version number on it, customer comes back and says, here, add these things. What do you have to do? You have to take the site down, right? Put more architecture in, more relationships, more this, more that. Well, what I'm going to show you today, there's no downtime. Create, like I said, create 6 new fields, slap them on the mesh content type, create a block view, you're done. That's it. You don't have to refactor anything on that site. Just one scale. Big exclamation point. I'm going to keep on driving this home as often as I can. We need to think differently on how we ask a user to interact with people. That's the problem. We're all building the same kind of architecture and expecting people to adapt to the way we do it. That's not the way it's supposed to be, guys. We're supposed to adapt to them. That's why they pay us to write custom software, to write their workflows, to write their UIs, to use their logos and colors and whatever else makes them happy. Not for us to say, well, this is the way Drupal works. Not cool. That's not a good way to get Drupal popularity-wise. It just doesn't work that way. So we need to give them a user thought-driven UI. That's really what it's about.
Question, Jay, when you say user, are you lumping content providers with content consumers together under the term user?
Absolutely, yes. Good point. I should have really illustrated. That's actually on both sides. The people that have to put the stuff in, and also the visitors to the site that actually want to see the stuff, want to see the stuff. Does it make sense?
To make it easy for both of them, both those groups.
So, by a show of hands, who's bored and thinks it can't work? I got 1. I got 2. I got 3.
Oh, no. But people say, Jay,
The question is, so far with what you know, do you think we could actually do this? Will it work? Or you find 0 value, find it boring, say there ain't no way this guy's going to make this stuff work. I'm curious, did I sell well up to this point? That's really what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
keep going. Hurry.
Good.
I want to give the answer.
I take it the shipping site is up and running with less than an hour and a half entry?
Kind of, sort of.
45 minutes.
Kind of, sort of. You'll see what I mean by that. Okay. Old school relational data. I don't care if you know databases, I don't care if you don't know databases. It makes no difference. Let's just talk really quick. Let's make believe we have a Drupal camp website. We create a content type called DCamp. Pretty simple, right? Okay? Then let's say we have attendees. That's content type. So one Drupal camp can have many attendees. Would that be true? Good. Now you know how to data model. With what I just said, think about that. I create a content type, I create a second content type, and I say to myself, wait a minute, one Drupal camp can have many attendees. There you go, that's the data model. Now we can keep on building on that. So one Drupal camp can have many attendees. One attendee can go to many sessions. One session can have many attendees. And we got a recursive relationship there. So I can reuse that data if I choose to, right? It's already there once. This is old-fashioned joins of tables on a relational database. That's exactly what this model lives and thrives on. The thought process of that. Okay. How do we do it? Pretty simple. All you need to do is get a pen, piece of paper, and start writing stuff down. What are your content types? How do they relate to one another? What are they going to do? Do they share relationships with other? You gotta, kind of draw the thing out. But that's really all there is to it. Take your time, document it properly, you're golden. So, identify parents and their children. Big one. Like I said, multiple content types, what are the kids? What kind of content types reside below that parent? Okay? Siblings, in this case, we're not going to even have to use siblings, but on bigger data models, I actually do. Those are the ones that sit on the same architecture. Sketch it on paper, just like a genealogy tree. Like a family tree, that's exactly what we're going to do. That's all it is. And then, all Drupal's going to do is it's going to actually transpose what you have on that paper. You're going to use Drupal as the last step, rather than as like developers like you jump right into Drupal. We start banging out content types and fields and, am I right? Right? Come on. Come on. Yeah, you do. Yes, you do. I don't touch Drupal, ever, until that has been approved by whoever the client is. If they'll approve that genealogy tree, now I know. I'm guaranteed I'm going to go in, I'm going to build once, I'm going to provide once, and anything over the top of that, hey, that's an extra, buddy. If you forgot to tell me, sorry. This is what we're going to do. So, step one, let's break it down. How do you make this thing work? Simple. Inventory. What are the content types? If this is the discovery phase. And as an example, this is the way I do it. I define why those content types are there. It's important to get that, keep your mindset into what the ownership of each content type is and what it's going to provide. So in this case, cruise. That's the mother of all content types on this particular site. It is a container of itself and everything else related to it. You guys get that? That's a big statement right there. Container of itself, so it's going to hold all of its own cruise data, plus all of the related data that's out there with other content types. So it's going to hold all of those relationships together. You guys got that?
Say it one more time.
Okay. The master content type, the big mother-in-law content types, exists for two reasons. One, to show cruise information.
Yes.
The cruise.
Fields related to cruise.
Fields related to that cruise, and also
Functions.
other content types that are related to that cruise. As an example, an itinerary day, a boat, a vessel, a cabin, a vessel cabin. That's all related content, but it's still part of the cruise. The parent, that's the parent. It holds all the kids. Think of a parent walking across the street with 10 kids. Somehow, some way, she's got those kids tethered to her. There you go. That's exactly what this is. Okay.
However, the world is not purely hierarchical and a
True.
vessel exists
True. Very
independent
true.
of it.
Very, very true. So that's step number one. Pretty simple step here. Identifying the parents and the children. This is where the bread and butter happens. The master content type, AKA the parent. Write it down. Don't be afraid to write the stuff down. It'll help you build better sites. Itinerary. It is a child of the cruise. That's why it exists. It is there to become a child of the cruise. It is a one-to-many. One cruise can have many itineraries, the same way you said. One Drupal camp can have many attendees, same concept, right? Itinerary day is a child of the itinerary, right? It's a one-to-many. One itinerary can have many itinerary days. So if we have an 8-day itinerary, day number 1 was here, day number 2 was there, day number 3, and so on, so on, so on. So now, with your brand new found knowledge, based on what I have written here, Is an itinerary day related to a cruise? Who says yes? Raise your hands. Okay, who says no? You are correct. It is not a child of the cruise. It's a child of the itinerary, which is a child of the cruise, right? It's an intermediate relationship. So, we all know views, we're good Drupal guys, right? Could I surface that relationship inside of views? Absolutely yes. I just need an intermediate relationship. I'm going to show you guys how to do that. So I don't care where the relationships happen along that chain. The fact is they're all related back to the cruise in one way or another, maybe through another content type. I can really care less how they get there. What I do care about is at the end, I can show you all 18 of those relationships on view like that. Cool? All right. That's what I'm looking for. I got a very cool. There you go. Last but not least of the documentation process, draw yourself a pretty picture. I don't care how you do it. I personally don't make pretty pictures like this. I draw them out on paper. But for those that are familiar, the crow's foot, you guys know what that is?
Yeah,
Okay. That's the crow's foot?
one to many.
Oh, when the man,
Yes, exactly. That's what those little funky things are that are coming down above, like right above the itinerary box. That signifies that one cruise can have many itineraries. Okay, and that's how we build a treehouse. So one itinerary can have many days. One itinerary can have many dates, and so on and so on. And like we just spoke about, once I define those relationships, that data is now available to me anywhere inside of views. Now, here's a big question. You see any taxonomy so far?
You see lots of opportunity to use a taxonomy.
Sure, lots of opportunity.
yeah, but your taxonomies are just a reference field, a foreign key to describe a code or.
Yeah.
True. But think about this. We're talking about a related model. So if I was showing a cruise that had a taxonomy term reference, out to God only knows what, whatever.
Yeah.
It could be
Taxonomy term model in there. You got inside and outside cabins.
Sure. Absolutely.
So if you look at your model, go back, so the parent-child is going cruise to itinerary day.
Correct.
That little dog leg there. Vessel is not a child of itinerary.
Yes, it is.
Vessel is at the same, vessel is an independent entity in its own right, and it could have many relationships to itinerary. It could be a.
Actually,
For one to one.
think about this.
So there's where your pure hierarchy breaks down.
I don't think so. Because one itinerary can only have one boat.
Right.
Yeah, but one boat can have lots of itineraries.
Absolutely
And
not.
I might be more interested in
Sure,
the
good.
vessel.
It can't.
than-
Yeah, you can have one boat that does the Atlantic in the summer and the Pacific in the winter.
You just said the key thing.
Well, that's a different cruise.
That's a different cruise.
It's true, but that's a different
But it's the
itinerary.
same
One boat
vessel. That's
can
the
have
difference.
multiple
So
itineraries.
the point is, the vessel
It
is
could,
independent.
but the way this model is actually
in its own
designed,
right.
what was specified to be designed, it doesn't happen that way. But yet, you have a point, it's true. What they were
It
looking
would be
for,
nice if the world was purely hierarchical, but it doesn't always.
true, but our job as devs, we have to find a way to make this foolproof. So, this is what we have, this is what we spec out. And in this case, one itinerary only has one boat.
Right.
Now, you may be right, they may come along and say, hey, you know what, man, let's go ahead and flip this around and show a different type of whatever, which is cool because we already have the guts there. We can do it. It's pretty, actually at this point, very simple. All right, so we're almost ready to get into Drupal. But before we get there, who is really anal about machine names?
Me.
Got one, we got two. I got three. That's it? I got four. I got five. Oh, see, now you're trying. There you go. Nice, there you go. If you are not extremely anal about your machine names, I guarantee you, at some point, you're going to hate Drupal, especially views, because it's going to get out of hand. How many times have you gone to views and said, man, I got to scroll through all of these freaking fields until I find the right one? And then you always wind up picking the wrong one. Maybe you pick a format field instead of a, no, you know, it's things like that. Not cool. Well, if you take the time and the trouble to architect your machine names correctly, so your content types, design those content types match, views becomes cake. And I mean that. It really becomes cake. And I'll show you in a second. So this, I'm just going to do just a couple of screenshots here. Just basic views of how I set these content types up. I use field sets personally to make the horizontal tabs.
Zoom in, or is that zoomed in all the way?
I think it is, isn't it?
Well, no,
No, that's the biggest.
That's it?
If you just read the machine names, you will get the message.
Yeah, well, I think it'll look better on the site when we go in there and use it. I'll show you that. I personally use field sets. It's a very small module. It does a lot of really good stuff. It's very efficient. Some people may choose to do this through Display Suite. I've seen it done that way. How you generate these tabs is purely up to you. This is just the way I do it. Put up a couple of fields. Create yourself a horizontal tab group, and then horizontal tabs for your references. And I'll show you. You'll see what happens. Pay attention to this one. Because this is the bread and butter, this is the Cupid doll, this is the winner of all winners. Entity Connect. Write it down, learn it, live it, love it. This is where this whole thing gets very smart, just because of that one little baby module. Views. How many are pretty adept at using views with relationships? Good, good. All right, small.
Work at the
handful.
relationship.
You know?
If I Google or not.
Okay. Well, how about this? How many people use the Entity API religiously?
For what?
Entity API? Good. Anybody else?
If you really don't use relationships, you really shouldn't put up all the
Did you say entity API?
Entity
The
API.
thing that makes it worth putting up with the thing.
I mean, I've never worked on a Drupal website without it.
Good. Good.
I thought that was just like it should be a core.
It should be. Actually, it is an 8, so we're good there. Now, this is the scary side of views. Right? This is the side that everyone freaks out, especially when they're first going to views. This is the bad side, the right side. But as you can see, I have one contextual filter. Always. Only one. All I need is one. And that's the one that usually kicks people's butts, is the contextual filters. It's a lot to get your head around. Relationships. Did you guys know, when you turn on the Entity API, not only are you given a way to relate nodes to nodes, but you can do it that way and up, backwards. You could actually do down the hierarchy and up the hierarchy, all because of the Entity API. That's what views, that's the beauty of what views works, that's how it works with the Entity framework itself. It gives you that ability. Most of those don't. Yeah. I'm going to show you how to do it. So before, when I said, is an itinerary day a child of a cruise? And I said, no. Guess what I can do? I can generate a view of the cruise, set a relationship to itinerary day. I'm reading the node ID of the cruise. Guess what I can see? Itinerary day. Because I built a relationship from itinerary day up the chain, which is referencing ing, to the itinerary. I'm going to show you.
So you start at the bottom and work your way up, rather than working your way from top to bottom.
Most of this is actually top down, so it's cruise first and then everything below it. I try to keep it that way.
But the view you're building is built at the day looking up.
That particular one is yes, correct, using referencing the ing.
Right, but if you want to have the details, you got to start the detail go up versus start at the top. Where that,
Let me show you the view, and we'll hit that. Because the answer is both, yes. There's two ways to really do it. Okay, fields. I'm going to harp on this as much as you're willing to listen. Machine names. You got to get in there, and you got to start getting really, really conscious of machine names. It makes smart systems. It also makes views very performant. It doesn't have to go out and search for stuff. Bam! It knows where it's going. And
do you have a recommendation for how to build a name?
Yeah, let me show you. Let me show you how I do it. That's the end of the slides. I'm not a big slide dude. I haven't seen many good slide presentations, so I try and keep them small. So now we're going to go into Dev Desktop. We'll take a look. Okay, So here is,
The baths, isn't it? Or is it the seashells?
well, it's, yeah,
Oh, it's the seashells.
yeah. So here's our data model. Arcadia small ship cruises. Right now, we're probably, well, this version I'm going to say is probably 88% done. There's still a lot of theming and pretty stuff that has to happen. But data model-wise, it's pretty mature. So, and I mean, it's got some good stuff. You know, got some flex slider stuff going on, little views drop-down thingies. You know, there's some cool things happening. You guys bored yet? You into it? Good. Good. Cool. And my laptop is painfully slow, so just be fair with it. Can't fix that. And I can't afford a new one, so it is what it is. So, did we go to the user account page? No. No. I already know I'm a user. I don't need to see it again. If I need to make a change, I'll go to my account page and do whatever I have to do. It detected that I'm an administrator. As an administrator, I'm allowed to see the dashboard. There you go, user thought driven. Think about what these poor people have to do. Now, how hard is it to do that? Who knows how to use rules? None. Okay, got a few. If you don't know how to use rules, to do a page redirect on login, if you don't know how to use rules, it'll take you about 30 seconds. If you know how to do it, it'll take about 5 minutes. It's worth the effort, trust me. So,
You like that better than login toboggan?
oh God, yeah.
Why is that?
It's another module. It's another module. That's really all of it, and there's nothing that I can't do with rules, which is very, very tightly integrated with the entity API anyway. And again, I try to stay as close to core as I can, and that allows me to stay close to core without loading up modules, just for like small specific things. It's just not the way I build personally. So, let's take a look and let's manage cruises. Let's see what we got. Nice management UI. Now, what would you rather show a user? Something with pretty pictures and pretty colors, like they like, you know, kind of pleasing to the eye, or slot them over to the content list, make them filter out the content type on the cruise, and then hunt for the node. What's better? Let me do this. Let me illustrate.
Equal satisfaction.
Well, and then you have to give them that extra permission.
Yep. So let me illustrate. Let's think about this for a second. Let's go to the content list and say, all right, Becky, log into the site. I know you can see your user page. Don't worry about that. Just click on content. Here's my content list. All right. I got a lot of stuff happening. No, Becky, it's easy. Just go to the cruise and hit filter.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. You droop away, right? Not cool. Not cool. Because the cruise thing in this particular instance only has 11 right now. What happens? How about this? How about if we tell Becky, hey, Becky, do me a favor. I know there's 11 cruises in the system, but I need you to change day 3 of the Adriatic cruise. Watch this. Becky, it's easy. Go to itinerary day and hit filter. Okay, what do we got? I don't know. No, Becky, wait, it's easy. You can sort on the title. You think Becky's happy about this? No. No. She's not jazzed on this at all. What happens if we went to the dashboard? Remember, what did I say? Hey, Becky, I need you to change day 3 of the Adriatic cruise. Right? Use your thought, right? Let's go to Manage Cruises. Let's go to Edit on the Adriatic. Okay, a couple fields there. Pretty picture. Now we got some content types happening. But we said, what's the relationship with itinerary day? Is it to the cruise? To the itinerary, right? So, guys, check this out. See that little pencil thing over here? Watch this. One day I'll grow up and get a good laptop. There you go. So now, can this itinerary exist on any other cruise?
No.
Why not?
It depends on your user.
Why would I want to have the Greece itinerary on a cruise to Africa? In traditional Drupal, we can do that all day long by mistake. We can create them, right?
Okay, because
I was just thinking date.
there's a lot of
If the client said, I'm taking a vacation for this date.
But it's not a date, it's a day of the cruise, day 1, day 2, day 3.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're not a user here, you're a content manager.
Right.
Now, in the real world, though, it might be a little bit different. You've got a unique situation here where you're not marrying your boats to itineraries and things like that. Where in the real world, I might want to book a cruise on the Princess blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
through the Bahamas
Right.
on the 7-day cruise.
This site is going.
This is cool. Don't misunderstand me. I'm just saying if you try to expand it too far in your mind without seeing what you're doing here,
Yeah.
you can see some problems, and that's not where you're headed here. You're looking at a solution, and this would work very well. Yes, you may have multiple itineraries for the multiple boats that go on the same basic itinerary.
Yes.
But you can't have the same itinerary at the same time as the same boat.
Correct. Which is exactly how this was spec'd and built.
Right.
If it was a different, like for example, what's one of the big cruise lines?
Prince.
Carnival.
Yeah, exactly. Sites like that, 100% absolutely yes, because those things are architected far different. This is a very specific niche type of river cruise market. They only use a particular boat for a particular trip at a particular, it's just the way these things are built. So that's kind of the way this thing was built, it's their spec. So, but on a bigger site like that, you're absolutely
Now,
right.
while you're on that, when you spec this and priced it for them, did you price the prettiness in it with it?
Yes.
Did you know you were going to go to the extent that you just showed us on, for example, the itinerary?
Oh, yeah,
Being able to get there back and forth?
Yes, absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
As beginners, a lot of us, myself in particular, are ignorant to that, how to price that kind of nonsense.
Right. Now, it's a tough one.
We want it, but we don't know how to look at the client and say that's going to cost you another $25,000.
Yep, I get you.
They tend to flinch.
Yeah, I get
Now,
you.
how do you get that list? Are you gonna get into
I'm
that?
going to show you, absolutely, yes. I'm going to actually show you the anatomy of the content types, how they work, what the Entity Connect does, and I think that'll clear up a lot of kind of out there, I think. But what was our process? Day number 3, right?
on day 3.
Right.
Okay, so we go to our same little cool pencil icon thingy. Now we can edit day 3. Now here's what we just guaranteed Becky. We guaranteed that Becky is not going to ever edit the wrong note. Right? Because what was the first step? She went to the Adriatic cruise. There's only one itinerary for the Adriatic cruise, so she knows she's in the right place, right? We told her day 3. She's guaranteed that she's on the right day because she stepped through the chain of relationships. We didn't send her the content list to blindly enter a node that she really has no idea where it's tied to. This way, she's got guaranteed she's in the right place at the right time every time. I think that right there is a big selling point, especially for content editors.
So you have to guarantee the referential integrity of the parent-child
Yes.
relationships down through
Correct.
inheritance. all
Right.
the way down.
Yep,
And you
absolutely.
have to do that through the very primitive title content.
Well, I'm going to actually show you how all this stuff fits together and then how it's rendered on the view side. But this is really it. Now, watch this. I'm going to hit the cancel button. Where do you think I'm going to go? Automatically, where am I going to go?
Where are you at?
Right now, I'm on itinerary day number 3.
Back to the
It's gonna go back to itinerary?
We hope so, right? Let's see. Come on.
Someday.
There we go. And there you go. We are actually on the correct itinerary.
Rules again?
No,
Not rules.
Entity Connect.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And as you can see, here's all of our other related content types with all that same functionality. And then we're going to hit cancel again. Where are we going to go?
The itinerary.
One's the cruise, right? Mother of all content types, the cruise, the Adriatic cruise. And, yeah, there we are. Okay, so Entity Connect does two things. One, it builds a cache table of every page that you have just went to and where you've gone. Okay, that's number one. Number two, it allows you to create on the fly entry and editing of related nodes. Everyone get that?
And it relates them through the title.
There actually is a marker in the database. Then when you create these relationships and you see the rows and everything like that, there technically is a marker in the database, but you can't see it. It's not, you cannot surface that out there, but it's there. But we don't need it anyway. All we care about is that we know itinerary node 18 is related to cruise node 17. That's all we care about.
And it automatically says when you hit cancel from point A, go to point, or from point B, go to point A.
Because it's stepping back the cache. It's just reading the steps of where we went and now it's going to backtrack where you were. So it can't take you to the wrong place. That's really what it is.
Theoretically, if you press accept, where would you have gone from there?
It would still do the same chain.
It
Identical.
would still take you back to the itinerary?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's say if I was going to add something or change something, I hit save, I'm going back up one chain, no, one step up the chain. There it is.
It's always
Okay,
down the chain from parent to children, back up again.
what's that?
It's always down the chain from parent to children.
Yes.
How would you handle siblings in that case?
In this model, I don't have siblings in there yet, but let's assume that I did have siblings. It's really nothing more than another horizontal tab on the master node. And the same way it's set up on all these other related things. It doesn't matter where it actually shows. That's a UI thing, where I'm showing all the tabs at the right time, in the right place. I could have 100 siblings along. Makes no difference. The UI, you can bend that UI wherever you want to bend. So I treat that as two separate steps. The UI, how I present it with the tabs, where they are in the system at that one point in time. That's up to you.
Are you going to show us how to add siblings?
No.
We could, sure. Absolutely.
What do you define as a sibling? Another node on the same level?
Tell you what, let's do this. You know what? Let me hold that to the end, and we'll do one. Is that that's the content type? We'll do. Now, let's take a look at the actual cruise content type, and let's start taking a look at the anatomy of the fields, how all this stuff kind of ties together. Okay, pretty standard stuff, right? Nothing weird going on there. Content type, cruise. Somebody had asked about auto entity labels, why I use them. Let me show you that first. Okay?
Because that's how you basically tie things together, right?
Let's make believe I was going to go in and add a new cruise. What does Drupal give you out of the box when you create a content type?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Title, body.
Potential.
Say it again?
Title,
Title, stop right there. Give the title and body field. Goes along for the ride every single time, right? Great. What if I want the admin side of the UI to have one title, but I want the public side to say something completely different? What do I do there?
Display suite.
Hmm?
Display suite.
Display suite, good answer. That's one way to do it.
Auto entity label.
Well, entity label, I think, might be a better one. I'm going to show you why. You see anything that says this actually isn't the default title field? No, it's hidden. It's gone. It's going to show on the admin UI side if I choose to go to the content list. Right? But we don't go there anyway, so we can care less. But I use title public. So if we go to
Jay,
no auto
can you speak
label.
up? It's a little hard to hear you.
Sure.
Hard to hear.
Sure.
Because you're sitting in the back of the class.
Can you guys see that okay?
Yeah.
It's a little out of focus, I know.
Oh, fix it then.
Is it-
Jeez, Jay.
Where is the,
Just keep it buttons.
I don't know if it's gonna get any sharper.
I don't think so. I think that's it.
Oh, look at that.
Nice.
You can move closer too.
Except it's cutting off the left side.
A little bit.
Fix it.
That's not bad.
We can deal with it.
Well, that's.
All right, can you guys read the second option?
It's here.
Can you, what's that?
Welcome to the party.
I didn't shoot it.
If you zoomed out, like your browser did like Control minus, but it's just gonna get small.
I swear.
Can you guys see that second option?
Exponentially generates the label and hide the label field.
Okay.
Ooh, look at him.
That's your primary key.
Now, the pattern for the title, where did I get that from? A little familiar?
A token?
It's a token. It's a token.
No.
And guess what? We can go through and use any token we feel like here. If there's a valid relationship going on there, then this is my machine. Hold on.
Only if it's in the content.
All right, there you go. Man, I gotta get some memory. That's bad. Okay.
There it is.
Nodes.
Need to get a company laptop.
Yeah, no kidding. Now watch this, guys. Let's go down to the title public fields. Look how pretty that is. Every one of my content types has its own little naming convention. And it works this way. The content type, space, pipe, node type. So, what that tells me is, if I did choose to go to the content list, which is now the root wall level like I showed you, but let's say I got to buck the system. I'm going to go there anyway. I want to be able to see itinerary, space, pipe, and name the exit. And I'm going to show you why this becomes important in actually a couple of minutes. Has anyone actually done anything like that?
I've used auto node type.
It's the same thing. This is more entity suitable
Right.
than that. Same concept. But, if you notice, take a look at the naming conventions. I always try and use the first 4 letters of a content type. If there's space, I use 5. It makes sense to me. Yes?
Anyway, you pick control plus.
Yeah, I can't.
It's like plus.
It's all-
It's like 50 pluses.
You'll all be up there.
It's like him. It's closer to the fire.
We're bringing big bag chairs next.
So, okay, so is your content type then what?
That's much better. I appreciate it.
Is that cool? Can everyone see it?
I can see it on the top.
Good.
So is your content type and what?
So my naming conventions always follow the content type. On the title fields, it's going to be the first 4 of the content type or 5. In this case, like for example, cruise. I went ahead and just typed out cruise. But I try and plan this out. So it's going to be content type, space, pipe, and the public title field that I fill in. Now, here's what happens.
You don't share fields in?
Never. Never.
Why? Bad?
I can say this, in Drupal 8,
You'll have to like refresh the page to get it to
uh,
where you can see, I think.
in Drupal 8, I was talking to Ted Bowman at the camp, and he had said, you are no longer allowed, they don't allow it in the next version of the end of the API to share fields. Interesting. Share fields. Right. So in other words, having a date field that you can store data in across all your content types. I've never done that anyway. I always have fields per content type. I don't care if they can be 9 date fields in the system, but they all have one individual column.
You said you use 5 characters, 4 or 5 characters?
4 to 5.
Kind of truncated.
I just get lucky with this. There's really no rhyme or reason. There's no science to it. So for like itineraries, ITIN. What's that?
But you manually put in the machine.
Yes, yeah, I'm going to show you. So really quick, let's go down to the content list. Let's see how some of this stuff looks.
What does the automatic language generation?
Well, in this case, it's actually generated, well, actually here, this is okay. Itinerary day, space, pipe, that's actually a little bit bigger of a string. That would be start day, day number. So I'm actually building this out using a token with a couple of words.
That's when you're adding content, not when
Yeah, and it'll
not when
automatically
you're
do
building the
this.
schema, but when you're adding content.
What automatically does it? What automatically does it?
This is auto entity label. So I'm typing in, so in other words, if we go to this particular node, for this itinerary day, itinerary day, space, pipe, central Mandalay is actually where it resides and what the day number is. So I'm building out a little string there. But technically,
And that's all from fields on the form.
correct. That's
Edit
exactly
there
right.
for us? Jack, could you hit edit there? So we can see the raw
Sure.
content type?
No title field at all.
Right.
Don't need it. I'm not displaying a specific title value there. I'm building it out. I'm going to use,
Getting the day number, getting the day city, picking up the image you want. like-
correct. Yeah. That's it. So I'm using these little patterns to generate these titles on the fly automatically. Because I guarantee you, Becky's going to have a bad day and forget how she named all the other days and do it wrong. Maybe she'll do ITIN day one. She'll come up with something bizarre. If you rely on metadata at that level, it's never going to be consistent, ever. That's why I use this. This way it guarantees, I don't care what they type in there, it's going to build it out the way I say.
How's it getting a cruise name out of that itinerary? Is that hierarchical? You bring it in on the page somewhere else, or?
We could.
I mean, it's,
Well, it's not
Well, it's
there.
not on the
It's
page.
actually, in this case, it's not there, not on the itinerary day.
so it doesn't come, that doesn't come across as part of the title?
Correct, that's right. Actually, here's what it is. It says day 1 or day 10 or
Okay.
day whatever.
And the city?
Okay.
Our itinerary day is hard-coded text.
Yeah.
This was a launch.
Okay, but I'm gonna throw out a challenge.
Oh, that's the content type.
Well, but at that point, that piece of content could care less about what, anything else. It doesn't,
I just want to know where it came from.
the title or
The
the,
itinerary day, that came from the content type.
yeah, have you ever used tokens? Yeah, you see when he placed them in there? I mean,
I couldn't see, that's why.
well, he built up a set of
Right.
strings from the token replacements to do it.
Okay, but here's a challenge for you, Jay. Supposing what exists is a luau on the beach, and it's got a menu, and it's got dancing girls, and it's got entertainment, and it's got all this stuff.
Sign me
It
up.
appears in lots of different cruises on lots of different days. So the luau as an event participates in itinerary days
Right.
in the parent-child relationship, but it's an entity in its own right. It's a
Right.
luau. How do you handle that?
If we had 7 itineraries that had the same luau, is that what you mean?
Yes,
Guess what I would have? I would have 7 luau nodes.
but you don't want that.
Yes, I do, all day
Because-
long, because I want to make sure that node number
Because they
6.
share a lot of common data, and you don't want all that redundancy.
Actually, I do, because I want to make sure if I'm looking at cruise number 1, I'm looking at that luau. What happens if on cruise number 1, they're changing the time of the luau on day 3? If I do that, all of those luau's are now going to pick up that same time change, right?
Or if a hurricane is coming right at that moment.
They're all canceled.
Cruise is canceled, scratch it off.
So it's the same concept as reusing fields. I don't reuse fields. I guarantee myself uniqueness doing that. If I reuse fields, now I run the risk of bad data. Make sense?
But you run that with a lot of redundancy.
But isn't
They all
that,
have the same.
isn't that a
data and
decision that the
same-
company makes? They're going to say, we want the same criteria. If we change it once, we want to change it everywhere.
In some cases, absolutely, yes. It really depends on whose site it is, how they do business.
Right.
So let's lay out her question with his way. What if the company says, we do want to be able to change these all at once? Now what happens?
Then I would do nothing more than go to each content type and set one entity reference field out to this one content type and I'm done. That's
So
it.
create a second half of the content type. Not
Yeah. I would recommend not doing that. However, you look from what I just illustrated. However, it's that simple.
Well, you could set siblings off to the description, for
You
instance,
could.
that's a very verbose part of it.
Yeah.
You could say, you could share the description of it and maybe the pricing. You could
Right.
share it. You'd still have a separate entity, because it could theoretically, like you said,
Right.
move either date or time or whatever.
Correct. And in views, that's actually a pretty simple thing to kind of make happen, but I'm more of a fan of the guaranteed uniqueness per node. I'm gonna actually show this now instead of later, and I think this may help. Yes,
If you have that many nodes, how does it affect performance, or does it?
it actually increases it huge,
Okay.
huge, because SQL, databases are designed to do exactly what this site does and how it's architected. Related data, primary key, foreign key, parent-child. That's how these things are, that's what they put on the face of the earth to do. Us doing taxonomy and the Drupal stuff blows all of that stuff out of the water, believe it or not. It makes your site slower. And you ever want to know why Drupal site, I guarantee you this all day long, if you get a white screen to death, take a look at taxonomy, I bet you it's giant. Guarantee. Every day of the week, taxonomy will white screen your site, I promise you.
Because it's building the,
It's a recursive taxonomy. Taxonomy, believe it or not, it's just like an Excel file. It's a flat file. There's no relationships in taxonomy at all. There is no primary key, foreign key in the way taxonomy terms and vocabularies are stored. Nah, it just doesn't work that way. So why does views get ugly with taxonomy? Well, it's simple. It's doing multiple round trips to generate this query. A, I'm going to go read taxonomy. B, I'm going to filter it on the term. C, then I'm going to jump over to the node table and grab all of those nodes. I'm going to recursively go back, and I'm going to still load up all those taxonomy terms, even though I'm only looking at one. If I have 800 taxonomy terms, guess what's going into that view? 800. I'm filtering on one. Now I'm going to go to the node table. All right, there's some fields. Go ahead and grab all those records. All the fields on those records, by the way, go along for the ride too. Now I'm going to hard filter and say, I only want to see these 10.
Have hit the database multiple times.
Over and over and over, and just because we have one little word tying together 25 times. Do it with the entities, where are we going to go? Node table. Doing it this way, I don't care how many content types you have. The way these relationships are set up is exactly the way the entity API works. So, I don't care if I have 25 related nodes on this one master node, it's the same identical speed to remember all 26 as it is for the first one. No
So,
text.
if you're setting up a site, a good thing to ask the client is, all right, I have this content type. Yeah, let's see, the luau.
Yes.
Will you ever, want to change them all at the same time, or one at a time?
Right.
Because one might have pineapples one day, but, if it's Easter, they may have not decide to have,
Right.
whatever. Or, so they might want it individually where they go, and if they don't know, then I guess it's your judgment.
Here's what I do.
Then you
I
just
never
leave it.
leave any
Probably.
decisions. I don't ever leave decisions of a data model up to
Okay.
anyone except a data model.
Okay.
So to answer your question, here's what we do. We have discovery people through TrackTech that actually create the sitemap. They don't even call me. I don't even know this thing's going on right now. They generate a sitemap and then they wireframe it. From that point, they sign off and they say, okay, this is how this is going to work. By the way, here's all the fields, here's all the links, here's where everything's going to go. You cool? Yes or no? Once they sign off on that architecture and logic, it cannot be changed unless they pay it. That's it. So we don't ever leave, especially a specific data modeling potential problem like that, up to anyone except to us to say, you know what, we have a way to do this, we recommend you do it this way, but you can do whatever you want.
I'm thinking of Becky. If they go,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
I want pineapple on this day, that on that day, that on that day.
Right.
But Tuesday and Fridays, I want it to be the same all the time.
Well,
Gotcha.
Becky's only getting paid $8 an hour, so.
Becky's gonna be like, F you.
Yeah. talk to Becky. I actually trained Becky, believe it or not.
All right,
So, and the cool thing is when you're training people about how to work with stuff like this, you don't ever bring up anything that particularly shoot yourself in the foot or cost you money.
okay.
You tell, look, Becky, step one, click there, click there, enter there, so you know, go have
If
lunch.
Becky goes, why are we doing it this way and not this way, where'd you go?
This is what we were hired to build. We were told to do it this way. All right, she's cool, come on, no more problem. So I got a question for you guys. I don't even care if you know about databases or not. We already know all of these nodes have parents, right? We agree that, right? We're holding these
Except for
relationships.
Bruce, right?
Except Cruz.
Except Cruz, that's the master, that's right.
What about
We-
Vessel? What about Vessel?
Vessel is actually a different, isn't that good? But what happens if I say, I know Drupal really well. I'm going to tell you, content, screw Jay and his relational model. He's dead wrong. I know I can enter in a departure date all day long. I don't need that. I'm not going to that management, the dashboard thing. It's ugly. So let's put one in. And this departure date is out 12 months, and it's not sold out. What's going to happen if I hit save?
Error.
Okay? Give me a database terminology answer.
What's the question?
The question is, if I enter in this node without doing it through the cruise, which is the master, the mother of all content types,
Oh, integrity.
we're getting there.
It's gonna be a lost child.
Referential.
Orphan record.
Yeah.
It's an orphan record. Actually, I will let them take it. In this case, yes.
It's just a page on its own.
So now I just created a departure date.
It's linked to nothing.
Bam, say that again.
It's linked to nothing.
It's got no mommy and daddy. So the way this thing is built,
Look at it, it says so. I'm lost.
Orphan record, I'm on my own.
Wow, it's that comment. It actually tells you
How does it know it's an orphan record?
because it is not associated to a valid itinerary.
It'll never show up anywhere.
Won't
Right,
show.
but you don't have anywhere on there to specify.
But yes, I do.
You went the wrong way. You went through content instead of going through.
I went the wrong way. I did it purposely the wrong way. If I would have actually went to the Adriatic and edited my itinerary and put in a departure date there, we'd be all good.
So that record did not go in.
It actually did go in. It is a record in the system. It is a record in the system.
And is that a rule?
Wait for it.
It's a rule.
That told you that?
That's all rules, yes. Right. So let's manage orphan records. Because actually right now,
Yeah, a manager of a record now.
right now, every day when cron runs, it's going to send out a spanking email to the admins that says, hey, Becky just entered in an orphan record.
Poor Becky.
I thought she was good.
I know.
Yeah, she was.
They must have-
She's got
Is that the offer that I just entered?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's $12, right? That's it. That's the one. It does not exist on any valid cruise, so it's bad.
So what are your operations to choose from?
What's that?
What are the choose in operation?
Who knows views bulk operations, VBO?
Yeah.
I got 2, I got 3, I got 4, I got 5, I got 6. All right, cool.
All of
VBO,
us now.
views bulk operation, awesome module, it rocks, huge, learn it, live it, get it, gotta have it.
You can also do that through rules.
Yes. You can, rules does interact nicely with VBO, absolutely.
So basically what you're saying is you freeze the user interface first, then you design the content types to accommodate that user interface.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then
Yeah.
you go to Drupal.
And then I do everything, exactly.
Okay,
There,
all
yeah.
right, all right.
So what happens if Becky goes on a content party, right? And says, screw Jay and his management dashboard, it's all weird, I don't like it, and enters in 150 bad departure dates, 300 bad itinerary days, 2 bad itineraries, and a whole bunch of other crap.
Unemployment.
Yeah, true. Well,
Couple of
Just
clicks.
disable everything but that.
this display is going to continue to build and grow, and grow, and grow, and grow. Now, how bad would it suck if you're Becky and you just got chastised And the boss said, go clean that crap up. Those 300 no's you just put in, get them out. I don't care how you got them in, they're wrong, get them out. How do we have to do it in Drupal? We have to go to the content list and get those 300 no's. How do we know we're looking at the right 300 no's? We don't. We don't. We have no way to filter it out by the crews that they're associated to. That's a crapshoot. We could be deleting the wrong 300 nodes. With this model, you're guaranteed the only way that those things are going to show up is because they have a valid count. You guys get that?
Why would you ever let it in the first place? Why didn't you stop it?
I'm going to show you in a second.
Okay.
I'm going to show you.
Keep Becky out of it.
These are
So,
just a series of views, right?
yes, this is nothing but a bunch of blocks. That's all this is. So watch this, guys. Delete, execute. Now, what, you see where it says on itinerary or from record? That's the view's logic right there. If that's an empty field, it's an order to off the record. It's got to have a valid itinerary based on relationship. Okay, there you go. Performing delete. God, that's slow.
So how do
Could
you
you give
prevent
them the
that in real life? I mean, because in the menu part, right, depending who log in, can't you say what they can and can't see?
Yes.
So could you just help Becky out, just help sister out for a minute and just disable all that? She only sees dashboard.
You know what it is though? I didn't log in as Becky. I logged in as me.
Because I'm like, you're just evil.
Yeah, no. Becky would only see what Becky can do. Absolutely, yes. Absolutely.
Jeez.
Yes. So look how nice and clean that is. How about, so I got a question for you. What happens if I have, remember I showed you the departure date, right? What happens if a departure date is now before today? Can you go on that boat?
No.
You can't go on a boat yesterday, man. It would be cool if you could.
Would you pick a helicopter?
Would you allow the entry?
Private like,
I wouldn't allow the entry.
Cross the date line.
Watch
oh,
this.
yeah, help me. I guess time zones.
Time zones.
Yeah, that's
This is something that I dreamed up and they never thought about. They're like, son of a bitch, that's really, you're right, man. I got lucky with this one. Let's say I take a departure date that's already in the system and that date is now passed. No one can book that departure date, right? I treat it the same way as an off the record, basically. I'm going to send out an email on the cron run that says you have departure dates that are before today, which means you can't sell them. But I'll tell you what I'm going to do. You can go back in and you can change the date, which is not really true, or you can say sold out, yes. So that's just another way to take old data and show it as new data in another pretty way. But here's what happens. I'm going to put in the departure date of February 1st, 2014. It is not sold out.
I mean, somebody did a data entry there. Is that what you're saying?
Let's see. Let's see. Okay. I actually created it, but the system thinks it's an orphan.
Well, that too.
It technically is.
Yeah, it's both.
It really is. And that's kind of why that rule fires off that way. So, if I come back over here, like I said, I'm going to send out that snack and email every day with bad stuff in the system.
Shouldn't the rule have prevented the entry?
That's my point. Why, you say you had to
Because
service.
here's the way views works with this, is once a departure date is before today, I'm going to remove it from those views, the public views. So if they can't book that day, I'm going to remove it from the view.
Right.
But the content editor can still go back in and show it is sold out. So even though the departure date's before today, it's just a really pretty way. It says, oh, it's sold out, but it's still there. They can actually still see it. It's a little.
Why? Why would you
They
want to
said
see?
they want it. That's it. You know, they was like, well, what, how do we show people that it's sold out? In other words, once we book that date with its full entirety, what do we do?
Don't show the date at all.
But they wanted to show it as sold out. They wanted to look good.
How do they know it's sold out?
Huh?
How do they know it's sold out?
But just by the number of bookings on
So
that.
somebody's going to immediately look at the number of bookings?
Yeah, they do with this particular company.
Well, you have the ability to put sold out on the departure date. You obviously have the ability to put sold out on the whole cruise.
You could.
I would think, somehow.
Yeah, you could.
And it would make more sense to me that if you, rather than allowing them to enter a date in the past,
Mhm.
to just go into a previous cruise and update it to sold out, or even then, I mean, not even show a previous cruise at all.
I don't know, you know, I mean, that may just
I
be
mean,
a
if
thing.
that's what they wanted, then that's, you give it to them, but.
Yeah. So,
Does rules know if you're adding a record or editing a record?
yes.
Then why can't you just say, I can't add a new record with a previous date?
Well, because there's already records in the system.
Then you're editing them.
Possibly no.
If the record's in the system, you're not adding them.
Either I'm adding a record, or there's one already in there that is now expired.
Right,
So it's a
but
combination.
but that's what I'm saying, does rules know if you're editing an existing record?
Oh, yeah.
Or adding, well then.
You can set that, you can set.
Well, then you can allow them to edit any existing record, but why would you allow them to add a new record in the past?
Because that was the thing, they wanted to show that this date has already passed, but they wanted to still, because remember, I'm removing it from the view. If the date's gone.
Right.
If we last passed it, I'm making it go away. They want to go back and say, no, I still want to show it, so I give you the sold out option. It's just a way to show, to go around the rule of the system that will not allow a past date to show. That's all it is. It's a data entry, that's all.
So it's more for migrating data then, that they wanted that in there?
What's that?
So it's more for migrating data that they wanted that?
No, it was more just like a flashy thing.
Yeah, it sounds like a marketing thing, where they
Yeah.
go back and say, oh, we're always sold out, we're so busy, you better go early.
That's it. That's all it is. That's all it
Just
is.
showing past events is what you're doing.
We've gotten down into the weeds of how your site operates. Can you go back to the
Yeah,
presentation
because we didn't even do views yet.
and show us the simple way that you set up the parent-child relationship?
Yeah, that's Entity Connect. That's Entity Connect. But to finish up this little term here, departure dates that have passed, there you go. All kinds of stuff. Actually, wait, I have to line up. I gotta go. Past departures. There we go. There's no way to put it. There's no longer, it's not about. So it works the same way with rough records and rules and everything else.
So let's go back to your presentation, the very first slide, the title slide.
Well, how does that data, you gotta explain to us how that data gets in there?
Yeah. Entity Connect, guys, remember that? The little green plus thing and little pencil thing to edit? You guys are familiar with this, right? There's that machine name thing, cruise, all the way down, right? Entity reference. It's nothing different you guys already are doing with entity reference. There's only one added thing. Watch this. Let's find a good one. That's it. Okay. Notice how everything is ITIN, I-T-I-N, I-T-I-N. Entity reference fields, autocomplete. There's only one extra added step when you create this field. Watch this. This is all standard, everything. There it is. Display Entity Connect, add button, or edit button, yes or no. Once you turn that module on, it will give you this option on every content type that you create out of the box automatically. It's up to you to say yes or no, and which one is yes or no.